Ah, my scar. Greetings, fellow fans of film and fiction, and yes, I did indeed just draw the worst Harry Potter scar on my forehead with a blue pen. And it doesn't look like it's coming off very well. So yes, it has started, finally, 2 weeks later. How shit is this George person? Pretty shit. And he's finally here to talk about one of the biggest British film series in history. Which series is that, George, I hear you ask? Well, I shall tell you, thank you for asking. It is Harry Potter, obviously. And I'm here to tell you about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The film, not the book. And yes, it is called Philosopher's Stone. What the frack is up with people calling it Sorcerer's Stone in America? The book is called Philosopher's Stone, so why would they have to make the film Sorcerer's Stone? As far as we know, the person that made the Philosopher's Stone isn't a philosopher, he's actually a sorcerer. So, yes, maybe it should be called Sorcerer's Stone, in which case the book and the film should both be called Sorcerer's Stone. So yes, well done America, British are idiots! I can't remember what my point was! Weird rant over. So, what is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's/Sorcerer's Stone all about? I hear you ask. Well, I should tell you, thank you for asking. I'm going to stop saying that, that's ridiculous. Here you go, here comes the plot. The plot. So an 11-year-old orphan called Harry Potter is living with his aunt and uncle underneath a cupboard under some stairs. And they're basically absolute pricks to him. So's his cousin. It shows like he's running down the stairs at the start and he like stamps all over the stairs and you're like, whoa, why would you even do that? That's a prickish thing to do. Until one day he gets this call from this weird hairy old bloke called Hagrid, and he comes in and he goes, ah, you're a wizard. Boom, I'm a wizard. Hagrid tells Harry that his parents were killed by this evil dude called Voldemort, and when he tried to kill Harry, his curse that he tried to do backfired and like blew him to shit. So now Harry is famous for the fact that he killed Voldemort, essentially. He goes off to this school called Hogwarts where there are tons of other wizard kids just like him, and he learns how to do spells and shit along with his friend Ron, who's a lovely little ginger cockney, and Hermione, who's an annoying little shit. We all hate her and I'm sure she will never become attractive. Remember, I said no spoilers. Anyway, when they get there, they find that they've got these teachers, and one of them's this absolute dick called Severus Snape. He's a massive douche, and for some reason, he seems to hate Harry. So they work out that at Hogwarts, they're keeping this thing called the Philosopher's Stone, which has the power to bring eternal life. And they work out that Snape is trying to steal the stone so he can give it to Voldemort, so Voldemort can come back to power. Oh my god! And they have crazy adventures, and that is the story without giving away the ending. Boom. Now, let's go on and talk about what is bad about the film. The bad. Okay, let's start with the obvious. The acting in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And everyone always talks about how the kids aren't brilliant actors, which is true. The main guy, Harry, he sort of fluctuates between underacting and overacting. It's like some lines he's like crazily prepared for, and he's worked out exactly how he's going to say them, and other lines he's just sort of hanging around and saying. A character is being overacted and underacted in the same film, sometimes in the same scenes. But yes, I'm sure Daniel Radcliffe will get much better as he gets older. Remember, no spoilers. Then there's Ron, who just constantly overacts, but in a kind of cheeky, chappy, childish, kind of fun way. Rather than just going like, oh, bloody hell, he goes like, bloody hell! Which is kind of endearing, but, you know, overacting, so I'm keeping it in the bad bit. And then there's Hermione, who's just this little bitch. You can tell from the first time you see her, she's just snooty and looking down her nose. She's going like, oh, you're doing magic? Let's see it then. You know what? Fuck off, okay? We're just doing a bit of magic. We don't need to be judged by you. And then she's all like, but I shall do a better one. And does this flicky thing, and Harry's glasses are all repaired. Which is, you know, a nice thing to do, but you can tell that Ron's just like, bitch! I was doing some magic to impress my famous friend! But the acting is also there. It's okay, but you know, child actors aren't necessarily the greatest. Some of them are fantastic, but these kids haven't quite got into the swing of it yet. To be fair, they're like 10 or 11 years old, you can't really jump them. But no, that's not the only problem with acting in this film. A myriad of other characters in this film ridiculously overact. From the start, you've got Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon, and you may think, what, they don't overact that much? Watch it again! I defy you! Particularly Vernon, who's a brilliant actor. Richard Griffiths, he's awesome in Withnail and I, he's hilarious. But in this, just, no! There's this scene when Aunt Petunia is saying this line, it's like, just as strange, just as abnormal. And then Vernon is just stood there, he's not doing anything, and he obviously just thought, oh, I need to be doing something to be a part of this scene. So he just like scowls a bit, and then looks at Petunia and he's like, oh, should I scowl a bit more? Okay, I'm scowling. Are you talking? Oh, I'll scowl a bit more. The kids have an excuse. What is the problem? You're a properly trained theatre actor. And there's a character who, I'm not going to say who, but he comes out at the end as a bad character. He's a completely different character to how he was acting before, and he's just almost like he's trying too hard to be different. He's going like, come here, Potter! Nobody speaks like that. If you're evil, you don't need to shout. Darth Sidious, he's just there like, oh yes, come to the dark side. He doesn't need to be like, come to the dark side! Why are you doing it? I'm not going to say his name, but why is he doing it? Other than the subpar acting, the other issues aren't all that numerous. There are a couple of points when normal characters, like Harry, get replaced by CGI versions of themselves, like this one time when he's fighting a troll. And the CGI really doesn't stand up. I was 8, I think, or maybe 9, when I first watched this film, so I didn't really have too much of a grasp on special effects back then, but by today's standards, it's not that great. But as it was like 10 years ago that this film came out, you can't really judge it on the fact that it's not as technologically awesome as today's films are. The plotline is also pretty basic, but to be fair, this is only the first in the series, so you only really need to sort out who the characters are, why they're doing what they're doing. It doesn't really matter if you have a really interweaving plot. And having said that, there's this awesome twist at the end. So it's a kind of boring basic plot like, oh, weird twist here. It's not a kind of, whoa, that changed my whole idea of the film sort of twist. It's more sort of like, oh, that's cool, didn't expect that necessarily. Then they play this game called Quidditch on Broomstick. It's an exciting game, and it adds like an action sequence to the film, which is great. But what the fuck is happening? So the whole point of the game is that you've got these 3 players on each team called Chasers, and what they do is they take this ball called the Quaffle and throw it through hoops in order to get 10 points. But then you've got these people called Seekers, and that's Harry's position. What Seekers do is that they have to fly around looking for this little ball called the Snitch, and when they grab it, then their team automatically gets 150 points and the game ends, rendering the entire rest of the game absolutely pointless. And I know some of you will be saying that actually, no, in the 4th book there is a point when they play a game of Quidditch and they get the Snitch, and it doesn't mean they automatically win. Well, that was obviously just Rowling having to ram it in there because she was worried about people complaining about her ridiculous sport, which was obviously just written so that there could be an exciting sequence which focused on Harry. And that game isn't even in the 4th film. It cut short just before that game happens. So, as I'm reviewing the film series, I'm gonna imagine that that game doesn't exist. Okay, that is everything bad about the film. I think I've made it come across that it's a pretty terrible film, but wait for a second, here comes the good. Hit it. The good. Now, Harry Potter is obviously a series that deals with magic, with wizards, with witches and spells and all that shit. This film, of the entire series, I would say is the one that feels the most magical. They have an invisibility cloak, and they receive packages by Owl Post, and they learn to make objects float, and magic food just randomly appears. And there are ghosts. There are awesome ghosts played by people like John... What's his name? What is his name? What is Basil Fawlty's name? Oh my god, what is his name? Right now I am genuinely looking up his name on IMDb. I'm disgusted with myself. I should know this. John Cleese! What the hell is wrong with me? So yeah, basically there are lots of different elements that really make it feel magical and fun. Also, the music by John Williams, who did like every fantastic soundtrack ever. It's this brilliant soundtrack that's like really kind of floaty and magical and nice and intriguing and mysterious and cool. But then they got rid of it for a lot of the later films, and they keep little bits in. It's kind of like bum 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 bum, and you're like, yeah, that doesn't count. You obviously haven't got John Williams to do the rest of this music. Also, the set pieces, like I mentioned with Quidditch, are very exciting. Yes, Quidditch makes absolutely no sense, but it's fun to watch. They battle trolls, they fight in forests. There's this bit when Harry's looking through a library with his invisibility cloak on so no one can see him, and he opens this book and the book starts screaming in his face, and like you genuinely shit yourself. You don't actually shit yourself, but you genuinely freak out, and it's awesome. There are tons of really brilliant, exciting moments in this film. But it's not all excitement. There are some awesome, touching moments too. There's this bit where they find a mirror, and I won't say what the whole mirror thing's about. That moment is really touching, even if Daniel Radcliffe sort of slightly slightly ruins it. But it's so nice, it's such a nice idea, and yet heartbreaking. It was really awesome bit of writing from J.K. Rowling, possibly the best idea in the film. And book, obviously. And yes, although the plot may be basic, it's not necessarily boring. Pace is always up, there's not really any, ugh, I wish this would hurry up sort of moments there. It's all sort of like, yay, fun, exciting, nice time. And not all the acting is shit. Even the child actors, like the guy that plays Neville Longbottom, he's actually pretty decent. He's pretty good. He basically just does his character pretty well, and his character's the sort of like, everything is rubbish in my life, everybody picks on me. But you do feel for him, you feel like, aw, he's sweet, although he is the podgy fat loser, and he will never be good looking, and no one will ever love him. No spoilers! But Tom Felton, who plays Draco Malfoy, he's sort of like Harry's evil counterpart, not necessarily evil, but just really douchey. He plays it really well. You really think, dude, this kid is a dick. And there's Robbie Coltrane, who plays Hagrid. He's got this kind of warmth to him that you're like, yeah, if I was an 11-year-old and I was asked to leave my family in the dead of night with a tall, hairy, chubby, dirty-looking older man, it would probably be Hagrid. And I'm not really sure what message the writers were going for with that. It's not a brilliant influence to kids. And then there's Snape, who's played by Alan Rickman, who's Hans Gruber in Die Hard, and is basically awesome in everything ever except Love Actually. Snape is just like Malfoy squared. He's the biggest dick in the world. He basically, on Harry's first day in his potions lesson, he has a go at him, makes him look like an idiot. Of course Harry's not going to know the answers. He's only recently become a wizard, and yet Snape just rips the shit out of him like, haha, you don't know this. Haha, you don't know what Wolfsbane is. Oh, where would you find a Beezor? Don't know, you're a prick. And yet he doesn't do it like that. He does it more like, oh, you don't know, you're a prick. Which is so much cooler! And finally, and most importantly, Albus fucking Dumbledore is the headmaster of Hogwarts. And he is so cool! He's played by this guy Richard Harris, who is literally Dumbledore all over. Dumbledore's a really stoic character. He's sort of, for most of the film, off in the background, sort of overwatching what's going on. And towards the end, you can sort of feel that he's building a friendship up with Harry, and that he sort of cares about what happens to him. He is, in my opinion, more than anything else, the thing that makes the first Harry Potter film feel magical. He's sort of like got the wisdom of a granddad with the kind of youthful charm of like a cousin. That doesn't make sense. Shit. Dumbledore has to sort of feel like Harry's father figure, because at this point in the series he doesn't have a father figure. All he's got are his friends, and Dumbledore's there to be the kind of guiding hand, helping Harry through his journey into becoming not only a wizard, but a man. And Richard Harris sells it. He feels so like wise and old and granddadish and wizardly and Merlin-esque, but also like just your dad, a mate that you can talk to. We love Dumbledore, and Richard Harris is Dumbledore. Hopefully he will be here forever to always portray Dumbledore. I'm not going to say the spoilers thing because it will just depress me. Whoa, lots of bad, lots of good, but what do we think of it as a whole? Let's find out. The verdict. When the first Harry Potter came out, I was in love with the books, and I thought that the film was exactly what was needed to accompany them. It was a brilliant retelling, and that's what it is, a retelling. Yes, they're going to be different from the books. I'm taking this series as if it's a different series from the book series, because you have to miss stuff out. Having said that, I am probably going to complain when we get to the final film, because there are a lot of things that were missed out. I know, I'm a hypocrite. I don't care. Fuck you! So yes, I loved the film when I was 9. But I am a bit older now, and I have realised, looking back at it, that a lot of the problems, they don't really hold up. But if you're of the view that I am, that this film is not intended to be taken seriously. It is a children's film intended to entertain kids, not be a Godfather or Citizen Kane contender. Then you'll relax a bit and realise that this film is just good fun. That's what this film is. It's exciting, there are action set pieces, some tender moments. It's a good, fun film, which is intended for children. It's not a family film like Toy Story 3 is, or The Lion King. It's a kids film, like Pokemon the first movie. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it as an adult, that means that you will not enjoy it as much as a child would. And why is that? Maybe you've just lost the magic. So for that reason, I give Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone the rating fun for kids. Yeah. So what did you think? Did you completely disagree with everything I just said? Let me know. Put it in a comment. put it in a comment. I will read it, and I will dislike your comment and say, shut up! You don't know anything! However, even if you didn't agree with what I said, but you thought that there were some merits to it, then why not like and subscribe? See what I've got to say about the next 7 films. Yes, there are 7 more of these. Hey look, it's almost come off. So yes, I shall see you next week for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Fair alright, fellow fans of film and fiction. It's gonna knock your tits off. Boom!